Hello, my name is Mason Tate. Thank you for a little bit of your time here as look at a couple different theories here. One being motivational theory on motivation and personality, and then the other being identity theory. Identity actually is one of my favorite topics to talk about. However, really fascinating to look at the different ways it's applied in psychology. So starting first with identity theory, the one I really looked into was social identity theory, and then specifically there was an article that was written on how social identity ultimately plays into entrepreneurship roles for entrepreneurial companies, right? The article kind of delved into the ways that we fit in with our identities and with our personalities, how those actually play a role into what we see with others, specifically our social identity, right? So our identity theory relates to who we say that we are as people, right? What we find our personalities to be. That's kind of how we find our identity, right? Whereas social identity plays to who we are in society, our different roles that we play at work. Maybe it's somehow something we do in our homes. Maybe we're a spouse, or we are a coworker, or a caretaker's son, daughter, whatever that looks like. But either way, both are very important. But how we see ourselves socially and how our social identity affects us is going to affect how we interact with those around us. And some people who are very socially apt and socially minded are going to be more suited for those entrepreneurial roles. And so that the article really kind of dove into what those different areas look like, and ultimately how someone who is more extroverted, someone who is more tends to think on the needs of others, is going to fit into that entrepreneurial role. A quote from the article here says, "In other words, by applying social identity theory to social entrepreneurship, we make use of a compelling framework that allows us to better understand hybrid and non-hybrid entrepreneurs who act purely out of economic self-interest and or with the additional aim of supporting known others or unknown others in the social space." And so really looking at what their social identity theory or what their social identity says is how they're going to support or be able to support or not support others around them. Then looking as far as motivation and personality. Now, it's very fascinating to me the way motivation plays into our personality. So motivation is going to be the driving force to meet different goals or to fulfill needs, your needs specifically, right? And, now when looking at personality, sometimes the motivation is going to be the motivation that we have to become who we believe we should be, or to develop those areas in personality that we know we need to, right? One thought of this is someone, like myself who's a pastor, my personality, I'm already very outgoing, but my desire to publicly speak needs to grow, and so therefore I have a motivation to grow and drive that portion of my life and of my thoughts. Even further than that, in my personality's sake, I need to be pushing in what my personality looks like in there. So I need to be more outgoing, need to be more approachable. I'm desiring to love on other people better the way Christ loves the church. And so my motivation is going to be the driving force to meet my goals there and to fulfill my different needs in that one. Carol Dweck says in her article, more specifically, the present theory draws on existing theories, both classic and modern, to show that motivation is at the core of human psychology, and that understanding motivation is the key to understanding personality in development. Everyone, honestly, everyone wants to grow as a person. Everyone wants to be better in certain areas. Now, some people have different areas they want to grow in. Some are simply, they want to be able to say hello to a person and not have a panic attack. Whereas some is they want to be able to understand or relate to people on a more deeper emotional level, right? And so the motivation is going to help drive those areas of personality forming. Now, when looking at both the articles here, both definitely kind of dive into some different areas as far as the theories, right? So the social entrepreneurship aspect, look at how our social identity is going to work for us, or how that's going to fit in the business world. Whereas this motivation and personality by Carol Dweck here kind of really ran into the idea of how our motivation shapes our personality. In both, honestly, you can see a lot of motivation in both. Both are going to be driven by motivation because you're trying to figure out, one, who you are as a person for social entrepreneurship theory or social identity theory, and then that's even going to play into your personality. So you can see kind of how Carol's article, the article that Carol wrote, is almost like the foundation or the groundwork for the article on social identity theory. And so with all of that, it's important to continue to have those motivations, continue to work on yourself, and continue to desire to keep growing. And with that, even look at what your roles are, but even on the roles of others. Motivation and personality is looking more towards the self, whereas social entrepreneurship and social personality is going to be looking your place in others. And that's where these two kind of split apart a little bit here. Now you can work on yourself while working on how you interact with others and taking a look at that there. These are the two different articles here. The first one being From Needs to Goals and Representations, Foundations for a Unified Theory of Motivation, Personality, and Development. And then the one for Social Identity Theory was Painting with All the Colors, the Value of Social Identity Theory for Understanding Social Entrepreneurship. Both really great articles to read to kind of gain an understanding and a foundation of how both of these theories can be used in our day-to-day lives. I don't think we necessarily always realize that, but they can definitely be used in our day-to-day lives. Well, thank you for just a little bit of your time here, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening. Take care.